Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. You know, people, I usually tell you all about SuiteRecording, but today, my producer, my friend, and the owner of SuiteRecording, Joe Gangemi, is going to take a little time to tell you all about this wonderful studio. Take it away, Joe.
Thanks, Coop. Hi, everyone. This is Joe from SuiteRecording. That's SUITE. At SuiteRecording, we help brands and businesses to launch their own podcasts and YouTube channels. We then help to leverage that podcast to be repurposed for your marketing, social media content, video clips, blog posts, and more. We handle recording, production, and all the technicals so you can focus on having great conversations. So if you're interested, you can contact me anytime at hello@suiterecording.com. Again, that's SUITE. Take it away, Coop.
Thanks, Joe. That was very good. Joe was a little nervous today. He said, I never bring him on air. And I said, I got to bring you on air because we want to hear more about SuiteRecording. And the website is SuiteRecording.com. And so we have a great show today. There are people I've met through networking. And our first guest from CFB Promotional Products is my friend, Linda Milano. How you doing, Linda? I'm
doing good. Thanks for having me, Steve.
And then we have someone who I met for the first time in person this summer. I'd known her for like 2 years. I met her at an event at Bankroll from Calamos Investments. It's Eileen Ward. How you doing, Eileen?
Hey, Steve. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. And finally, someone I run into all the time from Telecorp Telecorp Technologies. It's Deb Jennings. How you doing, Deb?
Good morning, Steve. Nice to be on.
So, Linda, and we're going to go around the room here. Linda, tell us a little about what you do and your company or whatever you want to talk about so they know who you are.
Well, I am Linda, the owner of CFB Promotional Products, and I help businesses with creative marketing tools. So most people think pens, mugs, t-shirts. Yes, that's what ultimately we deliver and thousands of other types of products, but we try to really understand our clients' needs, what they're trying to accomplish, who their target audience is, and come up with a promotion that's going to help them stay top of mind. So we're more of a boutique style consulting type of firm that's really going to give you some great promotional products to promote your brand and message.
Okay, how about you, Eileen? Tell us about you.
So I've been at Calamos Investments for about 4 months now, but we're an investment firm offering mutual funds, ETFs, interval funds, UCITS, any of the building blocks that go into creating a portfolio that's supposed to be battle tested and time tested. But personally, I get to liaise with financial advisors, wealth managers, chief investment officers, research analysts, the folks who do a lot of the diligence on the underlying product. So it's a pretty technical job, but at the end of the day, it's all about serving their clients. I'm simply a intermediary in a supply chain between Wall Street and the end investor to make sure that anybody who's worked really hard for their money over their lifetime or at any stage of life is given the opportunity to have the best outcome that meets their unique needs.
Okay. How about you, Deb?
I'm from Telecorp, and we're a full-service phone and IT company. We can help you with any of your technology needs, whether it's cybersecurity, cloud and internet solutions, VoIP phones, or data cabling.
I want to start off with it because this always fascinates me, the answers, because during the pandemic, a lot of people changed professions, people changed jobs, people just go completely different. I want to know how you got to the position you're at now. What brought it about? And we're going to start with you, Linda. How did you start CFB? I know the story, it's a great story, but tell everyone how CFB came to be.
So I've been in the industry for over 25 years, and I actually have a custom print and packaging background, which separates me from the online entities that just do pens and mugs and t-shirts, that kind of stuff. But in 2012, after the first big recession, I was laid off from a job that I absolutely loved. And I quickly went to a much larger company, but it was it was a horrible fit. And after 6 months, they laid me off. But during that 6 months, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So I was really torn emotionally between at a job that I really didn't like, but also personally with wanting to spend time with my dad. So I took some time off, spent time taking him to the doctors and doing a bunch of dad-daughter time. And he just kept saying, you should start your own business. You should be your own boss. You're very good at what you do. And in typical daughter fashion, I brushed him off like, Dad, you have no idea what you're talking about. Fast forward to January 2014, Dad passed away, and he left my sister and I a small life insurance policy. After all was said and done, we probably had like a few $1,000s to each of us. And the day the check came, I was tearing it up, and my husband grabbed it from me and said, we're going to put it in the bank, and you'll do something to honor your dad, and you'll know when it's the right thing. So a couple months later, I started interviewing. I had gotten past the grieving stage, and I interviewed for a couple of different positions. And the week leading into Memorial Day, I was offered 3 different jobs. One was within the same industry, but it was only 10 hours a week. One was a completely different industry, was construction. Perfect on paper, 10 minutes from home, money was good, everything seemed great. But something in my gut was telling me no. And then there was another job. I don't even remember what it was. And after a long weekend of soul searching, I remember calling the owner back for the 10-hour job week within the industry. And I asked him to meet with me again. And we sat in Deptford Panera. And I asked him, why should I work for you when I can start my own company? And that was my eureka moment. That was my light bulb moment. And all those conversations with Dad come flooding back. And, fast forward almost 10 years now, I guess I made the right decision, and Dad was right.
That's awesome. It's funny. I was at the Deptford Panera. They don't have self-serve, because I originally got that sips, unlimited sips for $5 a month. And I get the self-serve, and I was like, oh my God, it's so weird. But anyway, Eileen, how about you? How did you end up at the position you're at now? Because I knew you from your old job. That's where I met you before this position.
Yes, I had to do a lot of networking when I was in wealth management myself, when I was liaising with high net worth families, individuals, entrepreneurs. That was when you and I came together. I was somewhat of an entrepreneur myself in that moment during a pandemic, where I think we all really linked arms and said, how can we help each other through this really challenging time where we can't establish trust, rapport, and mutual understanding in person, which is clearly the best way to establish connectivity. It was such a hard time when we were making friends in 2020, but I'm a little bit guilty of, I'm from New York originally. When you think of Wall Street, you think of New York. So I just have the regional location of having been raised in northern New Jersey and New York, and my dad was in the business. So a lot of take your daughter to work day, and my mom and my sister are in healthcare, which I think is God's work, and I really appreciate their function. But I'm a little mathy, and when I graduated college in 08, it was just not a good year to join a Wall Street firm. So I had to wait my turn. And luckily, eventually, Goldman Sachs was interested in hiring somebody who's good at talking on the phone. When they interviewed me, I said, I've been talking on the phone since I'm 9 years old. I'm really good at it. I would love to do it for you. And so that is kind of how I got my start in financial services. And I've sat on both sides of the table. I'm a consultant now. I started as a consultant. I pivoted to the advisor side for 2 years, which is where we befriended one another. So I've walked a mile in my client's shoes. I really try to lead with an empathetic approach, because we have our job that feeds us, and then we have more to life than our job, right? I mean, my clients' goals, their success is predicated on getting their investors to their goals. So this is the most human, sensitive business I think there really is out there. I mean, if you've been through the pandemic, if you had to close your doors as a business owner, we've been through this emotional roller coaster in the last 5 years. And then, my job in itself is pretty technical. So I really try to have a relationship. I've got to be, in the more technical capability set, but I was recently recruited. I have LinkedIn to thank for that. So I I know we all try really hard to elevate our brand and our awareness. I think you do an amazing job of that, Steve. You're always posting, you're always engaging. Actually, I know the same for you, Deb and Linda. You're both incredible on LinkedIn, and that's where I credit being recruited recently. And I'm just thrilled to be with an organization that has a history back to the 70s, right? You in our business, when you're representing what I represent, you're a reflection of your track record. And luckily we have some really nice long track records I get to represent as I build and bolster my relationships, which is very rewarding.
That's awesome. And anytime you want to compliment any of us, feel free to compliment us. That's okay. Now, Deb, you've had a crazy transition too, and I want to hear this because when I met you at Kevin DeDuke's dunking tank that I was actually sitting in. Tell everyone about your transition.
Well, I was a teacher for 20 years and never ever thought I would not be a teacher. And for years, Tim has always said, "Oh, come work with me. It would be great." And I always thought, I don't think that would be great. I'm not sure about that. Like, I just never thought it would work. Being together all day and all night would be a lot. So, and I love teaching. I never thought I'd leave, but COVID changed things. And it was difficult because I had to be in school and he was going to work, and I was around a lot of people who, may have had, or there was just a lot of nervousness about bringing COVID home and having it go with Tim. And because he had to run his business. So if it was a choice between my job and his job, it was his job, not mine. So I couldn't teach anymore. And I stayed home for about a year, and he kept bugging me, come work with me. And I said, all right, I'll try it. What do I have to do? And he said, well, you just need to talk to people. And I'm like, oh, I'm good at that. I can talk to people. And that was it. And it honestly has been great. I never thought it would be as good as it is. So it was a good thing. At the time, I was very nervous and I was sad to leave teaching, but it has been a great thing. So.
I'm going to ask a question now, and I'm going to answer it first because you may want to think about this. But I want to ask, why you're good at what you do. Like me, I'm a good interviewer because I listen. Okay, that's one. Two, I prepare and research, but I don't over prepare and research. Three, I know that the show's never about me. It has to be about my guests and my panels because, if I wanted to do that about me, I would just do my own thing. And finally, like I didn't send you guys questions because people ask, and I don't believe in that because I think everything should be an organic chat because when you're talking to entrepreneurs and business people, so many times they just give these nuggets of knowledge that if you overthought it, they wouldn't come out. So saying that, and we're going to start with you, Eileen, why are you good at what you do?
I think I have to toggle between dealing with a very sophisticated, intellectual, cerebral target audience, right? The people that I have the privilege of selling to and consulting are chartered financial analysts, KAYAs, CFPs, MBAs. They have responsibility for managing millions, often billions of dollars. And that's people's hopes and dreams attached to that. So it is like a very, again, human job with a very technical forte that I have to interface with. And so you clearly have to be credible and well-researched and prepared for those meetings, but you can never lose sight of who the end audience is, which is somebody maybe with a pension, somebody who might, potentially outlive their wealth, right? I think if you follow any of the studies, people are smoking less, they're drinking less. Like all of that is, we have really good healthcare. I know people will complain about it, but we have better healthcare here than many other countries, and longevity. We've seen so many advances and breakthroughs. So people are living just so much longer. I think actuarial tables say that babies today are going to live to 100 years old. And the way the financial system is set up, my grandparents had pensions. I'm 37. No one's giving me a pension unless I quit and go work, as a teacher like Deb, or go work for the government, or become a police officer or a firefighter, right? So there's some very specific jobs where your retirement is taken care of for you. For the rest of us, it's personal responsibility. And that is a really hard, narrow line to walk around, especially with social media and being able to see what everybody else is up to and keeping up with the Joneses. I think, there's the you only live once mentality, and then there's the plan for tomorrow mentality, and those are frequently in conflict. So it's really the balance between a very technical conversation with a very human element of my clients. They're psychologists to their clients, right? They have to help people navigate through so many different types of life events. Many of them can be unexpected, right? An illness in the family, unemployment, things that take a toll on you emotionally, but also financially, but they're navigable, right? And that's why my clients get hired, to help humanity navigate the reality of life, the good, the bad, and the unexpected. And I get to be a part of that consultation. And I recognize the privilege I have to be part of that process, and to be part of, again, that supply chain, to make sure that I'm intimately familiar with the process my clients have, but also keeping in mind that the outcome is really about humans getting what they want out of life. So I think hopefully that understanding sets me apart.
Okay, good. How about you, Deb? Why are you good at what you do?
I think that I genuinely like people. So I like to learn about them, what they need, what makes them tick. I enjoy that. So I think in that I create relationships with people that go beyond just that networking situation. And I'm also creative. So I enjoy all the social media stuff. I do enjoy creating an ad or creating something that will be seen by other people.
Okay.
So.
How about you, Linda? Why are you good at what you do? Because I've dealt with you, and you are very good at what you do. And in fact, Joanne did business with you. Why are you good at what you do?
Deb stole my answer now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, I genuinely like and care about people, right? And in my career, I found that a lot of times there's a cookie cutter approach to marketing, and it doesn't take into account the organizations or the company's individual needs, and asking questions to learn about the target audience and their unique roles that are impactful to the business itself, and just asking a lot of questions and listening to the answers allows me to tap into that creative side, because in my industry, there's literally a million items that can be branded with your company logo or message, but they're not all right for a specific industry or a specific audience. So again, listening to their stories and understanding their needs and their challenges, and then tapping into the creative side of stuff, that's always allowed me to take a vested interest in what I'm doing, because I ultimately want my customers to be successful. If they're successful, then I'm going to be successful. They're going to have more need for me. And I've always taken that to heart with every project that I've worked on, is that I work on it as if it's my own project, so that the results are what I would expect for myself. And being detail oriented really helps. And that is a skill that I've been blessed and cursed with. I'm very good with details and dates. So that is very, again, beneficial to my job.
Okay. Now here's something, and I know it's very important, and I need to do it more. But when it comes to charity work and volunteering and community, my wife does it a lot, so I think I take the card. Okay, she's doing it, I don't have to do it, but I have to do it. How important is it to you in your life? And if it's not important to you, that's fine, because some people, they don't. But how important? And I know you, Deb, you guys volunteer and do a lot of stuff. But how important it is to you, and what do you get from that?
It's very important to me. I think with not teaching, it's a way to give back. And I just love seeing the result of hard work and being able to give a charity something that will really help them help others.
Okay, how about you, Linda?
I think that we're all put here with certain gifts and talents, but we also have wounds, and it's in those wounds and those vulnerabilities that we're often most able to help other people. And that charity work can reveal itself in many different ways. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's personal experience, sometimes it's just giving someone a listening ear and time. But giving back is a way that, one, you can heal yourself, but it also helps people have hope. And I think that our world definitely needs a lot more hope.
Okay, how about you, Eileen?
Linda, I love that answer. That was like so beautiful. Wow. Mine is probably like a little bit more algorithmic. I got brought up Catholic, so time, talent, and treasure. You have limited everything, right? But you mentioned gifts, Linda, and I think when you can lend a hand because you have a certain expertise, whether you're sitting on a board and you're investment geek like me, that can be meaningful, whether it's treasure. If you don't have time to volunteer and show up, but it's a good cause, you can go to the fundraising event, you can write a check, you can contribute stock, low basis stock, as that's one of those technical tricks of the trade. And then your community, it's literally the top of my LinkedIn profile. It says, to whom much is given, much is expected. And you made such a beautiful point that we're endowed with many gifts. And I think if you are having abundance in an area, it is almost our duty and our obligation to be generous and to contribute and to find some way, whether it's time, talent, or treasure, to give back to the community. You also never know, to your point, when you're going to need it, when you're going to be the person on the receiving end. And I love what you said about lending an ear. That just goes back to being like kind. You don't know what's going on in somebody else's world. So you don't have to be writing checks and at soup kitchens and to be charitable. I live in my car and, I could be having road rage for 50% of the time, but I try to give grace to the reality that we're all hustling to try to do what's best for our families, what our companies are asking of us. And I think just giving grace and lending an ear to somebody who might be going through something, listening is really, that's the gift of time again. And I think that's a really great way to, if you don't have the means and resources to be philanthropic, if you can be nothing but kind, that goes a really long way.
I asked that question because I know all of you are very involved, because what I hate is sometimes I see people who sponsor stuff and do that stuff just for business, and it's complete shallow bullcrap, and they sit there and you go, come on, but anyway, I want to ask you this: day to day, and be honest, what challenges do you have day to day? And how do you overcome them in either your personal life or business life? Because we all have challenges and people don't talk about it. But we all go through things. It may be, your challenge maybe to sit there and go, oh my God, I don't want to eat a donut. It could be something small. But challenges, like Linda, what challenges, as a business person, what challenges do you have day to day? And how do you try to overcome that challenge?
Time management is probably on the top of the list. It seems like everyone needs something yesterday and they don't plan ahead. So it's navigating supply chain issues, shipping delays, and ultimately the client's needs because their dates are not flexible, right? And figuring out how to stretch that same 24 hours that we all get to have a positive result. I definitely need to remind myself, and it's a constant battle of work-life balance, and I need to keep my personal life full so that I can give my work life and professional life the best that I am. So taking care of myself and taking breaks and walking the dogs and getting out and doing all of that stuff, that's definitely a constant struggle, but also something that is very important to do.
How about you, Eileen? What's a day-to-day challenge you have, and how do you overcome it?
So I have this weird approach called like winning the day. My mom doesn't like that I say that, but Linda, you're stealing all the good stuff. Like you have your health, right? Which is like your greatest form of wealth. And that health is mental, physical, spiritual, fiscal. And it's hard to really crush every category every single day, because when you have to prioritize your family, maybe you are leaving some extra work at 5 o'clock because you are going to dine with your partner, but the scheduling isn't done. So you're going to have to log back on at 9 o'clock and eventually get the work done, right? Like we have these obligations to so many different stakeholders in our lives. So I agree that balance is my biggest challenge, and, kind of forgiving myself. And I think time blocking, again, you said time management. It all comes down to your priorities. And you mentioned clients and competing priorities between your obligations to your different stakeholders and their sense of urgency and their timeline and needing to respect that and deliver, versus sometimes you can put yourself on the back burner, right? And you'll go a week without going to the gym or cooking a healthy meal for yourself. You just did takeout. Like that's not great for your body. That's not great for your wallet. Like, are you optimizing across all of those categories? And like, do you save time to get your head right? And to give thanks for what you have. I think that is a constant struggle for anybody. And so I just try to keep those categories top of mind. And as long as I'm kind of keeping those cups halfway full, I feel that I'm doing a good job.
How about you, Deb? Because I know because you just did that 75 hard. I couldn't even do like the 21 hard. I'm like, screw it. I'm like too hard. I'm like, I'll do 2 days. But no, so what are some of your day-to-day challenges? Because that to me, the 75 hard would be a challenge, but that's like, it's mental. You have to be mentally tough to do that. And I'm mentally weak. But what is the challenges that you come and how do you overcome them?
Well, I think one of my biggest challenges is saying no, and me doing 75 hard is an example of that, because Tim wanted to do it again. And I first said no. And then he talked me into it because he was like, oh, the wedding's coming. And I'm glad I did it. I'm always glad I do it. But when it comes, I'm always like, no, I don't want to do it. So I think that's hard for me, saying no, because if somebody needs help or somebody wants me to do something to support them, I want to do it. I want to help. I want to be there. I want to give my time. And sometimes when I do that so much that the stuff, the balance, I feel like both Eileen and Linda touched on this, that the balance is tough, because then you're not taking care of yourself or what you need to take care of at home. But it's hard because I genuinely, I guess my spirit is giving. I like to help. And I like to be there for other people.
Okay.
So.
Well, here's something I always like to ask when I have an all-female panel. And I like having all-female panels because I'm not going to tell the story again, but my mom was one of the first female marketing executives in 1952. Okay, so I always grew up with a strong, female. And she left to raise us, and she went back to work. Women in the work world, okay, I know it's 2023, and we're going to 2024. And in a perfect world, women in the work world should just be people in the work world, and they should be treated different. Unfortunately, we aren't in a perfect world, and I still think there's some Cro-Magnums out there. And for you, all of you in your working environment, do you feel it's getting better in the last few years for women, or has it stayed a little stagnant? Because we all wanted it to be better, but I'm telling you, I've seen some reactions of people, some guys who are just assholes. Like I'm like, no, they're business people. Okay, do you ever find challenges trying to get across to males because they still this day don't take women serious? And we'll start with you, Eileen.
Not at all. I literally have like the most empathetic, down to earth group of clients. That might be ageism because I'm younger than a lot of the people I interface with. So most of the people I deal with have families, they have children, they have spouses, they might even be like that sandwich generation where they have caretaking responsibility for elderly parents. Like that luckily isn't my reality yet. So I think I get so much grace and empathy in terms of like scheduling, and I don't have a child yet. I really hope to someday. But again, my business is so human. It's about people's lives. So I think, I see nothing but good interactions. I do work in a very male dominated business. Clearly I hope more females join financial services and rise in the ranks, but it can be a really demanding function. Like I have no desire to be a CEO. I want to do my job and come home to my imaginary family someday. So I know my limits. That doesn't mean I don't want to hustle and do a great job financially in the function that I'm in. So like I'm imposing my own glass ceiling on myself based on my family's values and how I was raised. And I think there's a lot of discussion around that in the business. Like, oh, I'm like, this is self-imposed. Like I know what my limits are. So I consider the people who have elevated me are both male and female. The people who have promoted me, who have mentored me, who have advocated for me. A lot of them I consider big brothers. I have so many of those, and I'm so, so grateful for the leadership and the examples that not just my father, who's in the business, set for me and prioritized our family over probably financial advancement at certain times, was always present for all of my track meets and my swim meets, made it home and had dinner every single night, right? So I really credit that to my parents. And I think my clients, when I ask them, do you want to go to happy hour? Half of them tell me no, because they're going to go to their son's lacrosse game. That's a good reason to say no to me, right? Like clearly I'm paid to hang out with you and I want to get on your calendar in some way, shape or form. And if it's over cheesesteak, egg rolls, and a beer at Miller's Ale House, I'm in. But a lot of my clients have better things to do than to have that beer with me. So we do it during business hours. And I think the respect for women's schedules, especially coming out of the pandemic when people live through a really challenging time, having young families, there's a lot more recognition and respect for scheduling, especially getting on Zoom. I think the only thing I wish was a little bit different is just society's standards. Just the expectation that, depending on who the breadwinner is in a household, there is sometimes a requirement that women are expected to do it all, and we probably can't. So if we choose to outsource to a nanny or daycare, I mean, my mom would, didn't raise me to put my kids in daycare, but I can tell you, I'm going to have to put my kids in daycare someday. So that's, again, a family value decision. And I'm just that's probably a generational thing too. Most people are 2-income households now, especially with the cost of college and wanting to live in, a good school district, you need 2 incomes. So I think the standards for society need to catch up a little bit. And maybe I just feel that because of the age group that I'm in, but I think that's the hardest part. It has nothing to, my industry has made leaps and bounds, and they're amazing.
That's good to know. How about you, Deb?
I mean, I've only been in this business world for a couple of years. I mean, teaching is female dominated. So really, I didn't experience it there at all. And luckily, I haven't experienced it all in this role yet. Luckily.
Hopefully you won't.
No, I don't see it. I don't see it. I think people in general, I think people are either good or not good. I don't think it's male versus female. I think it is more just people want to help you succeed, or people want to push you down to seem like they're more successful. And I don't think that's a male-female thing.
Okay. How about you, Linda?
I think that it has improved, and that was actually one of the benefits and blessings that came out of the pandemic, was that people's priorities were put back into perspective, and the importance of mental health also kind of took the spotlight, and people are being looked at as humans and not necessarily male and female, and that has carried over into certain rooms. I do think that it's kind of an age thing as well, that as more marketing roles are being filled by a younger audience, I think that gap has become invisible, that they're, I'm just another marketing person. This is the expert. But if it's an older person making that decision, My sex does come into play. In my career, unfortunately, I have lost projects because of my sex, and I wasn't given the credibility that I deserve. But at the same time, it has significantly improved, especially in this post-pandemic world.
It's funny a lot of you brought up the generational, and it is true because I'm from the creepy old white guy demographic, and I'm not, but I still see that, and but I come from entertainment, so it's different. I don't notice it, but I see that, and I see it at networking events, and that's why I love groups like NABO, and there's so many women's events because there is still that old guy who's sitting there telling dirty jokes with his friends and going, oh yeah, check out that woman, and we see it, but the younger generation isn't like that, and I really enjoy that. And that will bring me to my next topic is networking. Okay, what do you love about networking, and at the same time, what makes you a good networker? I'm going to start with you, Deb, because you're out there a lot, and you and Tim go out networking a lot, so you can cover the whole room, which is brilliant. And I know, Linda, you did that with Chris too. You guys cover the whole room. But what makes you a good networker, and why do you like networking? Because I've met you all through networking.
I don't necessarily think I'm a good networker. I think I'm a good talker. I think I like to talk to people. But I know ultimately the goal in networking is to create business relationships. And I haven't mastered that yet. I'm still new at the networking pretty much. And I just like to talk, and I don't have a goal in mind. People are like, oh, well, who do you want to meet? I'm like, I don't know. I just meet who I meet. So I don't have that goal. That is one of my struggles. Should have been one of my things I said, because I definitely struggle with the intentional networking. I just enjoy talking to people.
Well, for you though, also in your what you do, anyone can use your business, and it's not like that's the one thing. Also, everyone needs telephones. Everyone needs,
do.
So that's
needs
the one
IT.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. Now, Linda, so I met you. You're one of the first people. I remember meeting Linda at the Hard Rock Chamber of Commerce. Was years before the pandemic. The Hard Rock had just opened in Atlantic City, and I sat and me and Linda talked because I didn't really know a lot of people there. And what do you love about networking, and what makes you a good networker?
Networking is not my superpower, but like Deb, I do enjoy talking to people. I'm much better in navigating smaller rooms. The larger crowds, it can get overwhelming at times. But once I start talking to people and asking questions, I do enjoy hearing their stories. And, like Deb's business, my business, just about anyone can use my products and services. But when I go not with the intention of closing a sale or gaining their business, but to genuinely listen to their stories and to see if there's something that I can do to help, even if that's making a connection to someone else that I've met at a prior event, that ultimately makes the networking event more enjoyable, but also beneficial for whoever it is that I'm speaking to, as well as myself.
Okay, how about you, Eileen? What makes you a good networker?
I'm a really good networker. Not to sound like arrogant, but that's my best, God-given gift. Drop me in a room of strangers, and especially if I need nothing from you, which in my function, I don't need. I guess I could get something out of it if I'm like, do you like your financial advisor? Want to put me in touch? I probably want to be their friend and have responsibility for having a professional relationship with them. I guess I could do that, but I don't need that intro. There is just a mutual understanding in my business of they have a fiduciary responsibility to look at my solutions, no obligation to do business with me. So it's just such a firm, decades known infrastructure kind of relationship, institutionalized, so to speak, that when I network, I'm going there for fun, right? I just want to meet people who are smarter than me, who are in different businesses than me. When you've lived in multiple cities and for your adult life, I affiliate with New York, I affiliate with Philly now, I affiliate with Chicago, I affiliate with North Jersey, I affiliate with Ohio as a state because I went to college there. There's nobody, my sister lives in Boston. There's nobody, half my coworkers have moved to Florida. I feel like there's nobody that I can't get along with. So it's just my natural personality. I am a hyper extrovert. I love making connections for other people. To Deb's point, most people are like sometimes forced to network for business purposes. They don't have the same benefit of the understood supply chain that exists in the financial services industry. It's just so solidified. If you're an entrepreneur, you really need that warm intro. And having been an entrepreneur for 2 years, when I met you, Steve, Linda, and when I met Tim, Deb, I really needed help. I was in that position of need where if I didn't meet a guy or girl who was an entrepreneur who wasn't selling their business for multiple millions of dollars, like where do you find those people, right? So I really needed to network with bankers. I really needed to understand the mindset of entrepreneurs for the 2 years I was in my prior seat. Otherwise, I couldn't succeed. And to be in that kind of position of need has given me so much more respect for the importance of good follow-up. So that's the other thing. Like, I don't carry a business card, but like, if I like you, I want to add you on Instagram and be your friend. I want to follow you on LinkedIn. I'll reshare your stuff if it's entertaining to me and I think it aligns with my value system. Like, I want to give back that way and help other people who are trying to be influencers elevate their personal brand. I think that's such low-hanging fruit as a way to help somebody that you respect who's got a message that they need to get out there. My message is to such a targeted audience. Most people are not my clients, but I want to be their friend and I want to see them be successful. So like, I just try to be a resource to anybody who I can. And the rest is just this amazing, magical socialization that just comes naturally to me that I just get such a rewarding kick out of.
Okay. Now you mentioned LinkedIn, and I always like this part of the show. So I always bring up LinkedIn, and we all need LinkedIn. And I like LinkedIn. I love social media. You know, I think LinkedIn's good because we meet people, we can get connections. But I always want to say, you know, there's always something that bothers me. Every week something bothers me about LinkedIn. And this week what bothers me is people just constantly brag about themselves. Like people sit there. I had someone sit there and they go, "Oh, I'm an international podcaster." Hey, everyone's an international podcaster because there's something called the internet. You know, they're heard. I mean, my show I found out was popular. One episode was popular of my other podcast, Coop Tank, in Finland, and then one in like Czechoslovakia. I'm like, what? But that's the thing that bothers me sometimes: the bragging. And there's one thing if you give yourself kudos. There's nothing wrong with that because if you do a good job and you want people to know it, you should get that across because one, it shows you credibility, but two, people go, hey, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Linda does really good work. You know, she got this because she does good work. But that's what bothers me this week on LinkedIn. What bothers you about LinkedIn? I mean, there's got to be something. I know everyone likes to say, "Oh, we love LinkedIn," and we do. But you know, I love my wife, but it bothers me that she wants me to make the bed in the morning, even though when she comes home, she's going to remake it because I don't make it right. Okay, that bothers me about her. Whatever. But Linda, what bothers you about LinkedIn? Because you're in there and you have pictures of the dogs and it's great. And the dogs have dresses and you got to love a dog with a dress. It's just the way it is. But what bothers you about LinkedIn?
You know, I think that LinkedIn in its true form is an online tool for networking, right? And spreading word. It was never meant to be an outright advertisement. And I have people connecting with me and I'm willing to connect and learn about everyone because again, I genuinely care about their stories. However, once I'm connected and get in the immediate sales pitch, hey, you know, you'd be perfect for our services. Let's hop on that 10-minute call. You don't know anything other than my name and what I wrote in my profile. And most of the time they're not even checking out my profile before they even send me a message. So I really don't like the outright sales approach. Get to know someone before you're selling them is it.
Okay. How about you, Eileen?
I guess my biggest complaint is I think it's like such an incredible tool, and I have like a compliance approved LinkedIn, which is like really, really important in my business to have, because it is such an opportunistic place to build a personal brand. I'm grateful to work for the firm that I work for, but I want people when they work with me to be working with Eileen first and foremost. Because I'm going to be working for a lot longer because I'm only 37 and careers are long, and I'm on my third home now. So I wish there was more hours in the day for me to commit to benefiting from all the amazing tools and capacities that I could get out of LinkedIn. I just don't have time. I literally exist in my car, so I'm probably a criminal half the time when I'm liking Linda's posts or your posts from a stoplight. Like, it's probably unsafe the amount that I spend on LinkedIn, and I still don't feel that it's enough. To Linda's point though, all the people who add me or that I add, I don't need to be their friend. I'm not accepting your Facebook invite if you're not my friend. I want nothing to do with you on Facebook if I don't actually know you. I think that is super annoying. Like, stay away from me, you weirdos. But I'll connect with anybody on LinkedIn because it's professional. And if you actually want time with me, again, it's a very small population of people who do my function. We live in our cars. I do not need to Zoom with you. If you have something to sell me, or you think I'm going to care about your charity, I'll talk to you for 10 minutes. I'm in the car, windshield time, sometimes 6 hours a day. I am happy to make 10 minutes to hear what you think I can do for you, or what you think I should care about because I posted something. So I'm like I literally message people my phone number and I'm like, yo, text me. I'll listen to your pitch. I'm a salesperson. I get it. If this is going to help you get credit, like,
Right.
for your quota, I got your back. Like, I literally know the game.
I think I'm like the only person.
I'm not a buying unit though, right? Like, look at my profile. I'm not the COO. I'm not the chief technology officer. I probably cannot put money in your pocket, so probably don't waste your time on me.
All right, that's fine. I think I'm the only person that really bitches about LinkedIn, even though I love it. Deb, what is something you don't like about LinkedIn?
I will go with Linda. I really don't like if I've met you in passing, or if my name was on a list that I went to an event that I actually didn't go to, but you got my name and you message me and say, hey, it was nice to meet you at that event. And I'm thinking I didn't go to that event, but and then they they have the sales pitch. I don't like that at all about LinkedIn. But other than that, I don't really have any issues.
God, I tell you, I'm too high. I'm too high strung, man. A lot of shit pisses me off on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my God, you're a self-proclaimed expert. Get out of here. So here's a question I ask, and maybe one of you will be like me. Maybe you won't. I always because people like to hear this. I like to find out if you've read and I don't read business books, so I always like to answer. But if I'm waiting for someone to go, Steve, I don't read business books either. But if you read, what's a business book that you've either read recently or in the past that has made an impact on you? I always hear different answers. People come up with different books. Like I said, the only one I've ever read was The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. It's the only book I've ever read. I think I tried to read like the sales Dale Carnegie when I was younger, or Cy Sperling, whatever. I don't know. There's like the 101 people, whatever. I don't know. I don't even know the titles. But is there a book you've read and recently or in the past that has impacted you? And we'll start with you, Eileen, because you seem like a reader.
I am a reader. Yeah, I love reading it. Again, wish I had more time for it. Thank God for Audible and podcasts. But I really, really love the book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I was unemployed briefly, and I had a severance. I had the best year in sales I'd ever had the year before. But the toll it took on me mentally, because my job is so much my identity, which is probably unhealthy. This book really helped me at a time where, I wasn't, from an outsider's objective perspective, financially needy, but the toll it took on me to figure out whether I was going to reinvent myself, or whether I was going to stay in my lane, or whether I was going to take a risk and try the other side of this business. it really offered me a lot of insights and almost emotional support, where no person was really in a position to do that. You know, you can go to your colleagues and your peers and your family for empathy, but nobody who's not, you know, in that moment at that time can really understand you. They can listen to you vent. And I felt like this book made me feel seen. And I recommend it to everybody because I just think we're all on this journey, and there's going to be abundant times and there's going to be challenging times. So Morgan Housel, The Psychology of Money. I think my clients should make their clients read it. I think it should be required reading for everybody in high school because we all grow up with different economics conditions, right? And that's like, we have populism in society politically because of that. So we should be forcing people to read this book in high school to get in touch with their own, you know, reality.
Okay. How about you, Deb? How about you, Deb?
I would say I had to read a lot of those type of books with 75 Hard. I'm not a nonfiction reader at all. And with 75 Hard, it had to be one of those types of books. And I would say Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins was great for me. I feel like watching him overcome so many obstacles to get to where he wanted to go. When I changed careers, it was difficult. I didn't really know the business world and didn't honestly want to at the time. So it was so different than education. So reading that book was helpful because he transformed himself many times. And I thought, if he can do all that, I can do this. So I think a lot of those books. I loved Atomic Habits. That was very helpful. Just seeing how one habit you change a little bit can change things for you was great. So those two I think stuck out to me.
Okay, how about you, Linda?
I'm not a big reader. I'll listen to podcasts and audiobooks, but generally I don't pick up business books to read. If I'm reading a book, it's for enjoyment and entertainment. But there was, I don't know if we would necessarily categorize it as a business book, but there was a book called Perfectly Yourself by Matthew Kelly that was so impactful in my life, which eventually carried over into my business. And it's about being true to yourself and being authentic. And I think that our world lacks authenticity for many reasons. And I think that you need to be comfortable with you and yourself in business, in life, in personal relationships, for everything to kind of fall into place. And when you're trying to be something that you're not, whether it be to impress someone or to live up to someone else's standards, it ultimately it causes inner conflict and causes you to not be well physically, mentally, spiritually. And this book really emphasized the importance of being true to yourself and sticking to that, especially when it's something that violates your own conscience in a workplace. That is definitely something that, you know, it was important to me, but that book was very impactful in my life.
Okay. This is my final question. I always ask this question. Someone comes up to you. They can graduate at high school, college, trade school, whatever. You know, they want to get started in the business world and started, you know, really developing a career. Okay. As my mom would say, they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Someone has that. They come up to you and they ask you for advice. And they say, what can I do to figure this out? You know, where should I start? What advice would you give them? And Deb, we'll do that because I know you have a daughter. So what advice would you give someone who comes up to you and says, help me figure this shit out. Let me, I want to build a career. I want to get focused. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to find a really good mentor. There's a lot of good mentors out there. And not a professional mentor, but somebody who has done it before. So like with Tim, he built his business from nothing, literally nothing. We lived on credit cards for months, a year, a long time. And I think going through it is the only way to to know how to do it. So to find someone who's willing to help you each step of the way to get to where you want to be is, I think, the most valuable thing out there. So I think I would say find a mentor, find a great mentor who has done what you want to do.
Okay. How about you, Linda?
I encourage my nieces and nephews and anyone that asks to not choose a career based on money, because the money will fix itself. You need to work for a really long time. And like, alluded to earlier, like our work life is extending to longer periods of time. If you're going to do something for 40, 50 years, you better like what you're doing. And it can't be just money driven. And try it out, learn from the mentors, learn from people that have been in the industry, because no job is perfect. It's going to come with its good and its bad. And there are going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. And you need something that's going to get you through those challenging times. And that's based off of, passion and purpose and liking what you do and being good at what you do.
Okay. And how about you, Eileen?
So I have a framework. I do a lot of mentoring for, well, anybody who asks, because again, I'm very, very privileged to be in the position that I'm in, and I'm alone in the car a lot, so it's easy to talk to me, and I don't mind the company. But Ikigai, IKIGAI, if you end up wanting to Google it, but it's a framework for mapping out your life, and it's a Japanese term. It's a reason for being. So to Linda's point, profession is what you're good at and what you can get paid for. But there's also the considerations of what you love and what the world needs. And there's a lot of like students or people in their early 20s who are just kind of getting a start. Maybe they're in their first job and they don't love what they're doing, but it's their meal ticket right now and they want to figure out how to navigate it. So I'm the most impatient person in the world. That is like a huge area of, improvement for me. Everything is like not done fast enough. Maybe that's a North Jersey thing, but I have to coach myself on patience. So if ageism is a thing, then I think the next generation who got brought up with instantaneous Amazon and clicking to get what they want, they're probably even less patient than I am. So to Linda's point and Deb's point, you're going to be working for a really long time before you get to the promised land of your career where the money is optimal, where the functions you're doing day to day are optimal. Like, it's just going to be a journey. So own that up front and then take inventory of your values. And that comes back to how you were raised, right? Like, really, how would you want your life to look? And then, what role will that profession play versus what could be a vocation, what could be a mission, what could be a passion, and how do you make room for all of those things so that when you look back, I'm very big into preaching. Like, somebody told me during a talk, like, if you had to have your eulogy written, how would you want it to sound? And that was like the best advice when I got it. I was like 24. And I think if you can like live your life according to how you would want your eulogy to come out, and you can kind of spend your time in ways that are meaningful, while also clearly keeping a roof over your head and providing for people who you're responsible for if you become a parent or have other responsibilities in society, I think that's good. So Ikigai is the great framework that I recommend to everybody.
Okay. For me, the eulogy, I want when I die, my funeral, I want a cover charge and a guest list. That's all I want. It's not an escort. Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming on. How can people get in touch with you? Give your info, whatever you can give out. Linda, how can people get in touch with you?
So it's CFB Promotional Products.com. And the best is pick up the phone, give me a call, and the number is 856-513-6610.
Eileen.
I live in Fishtown in Philadelphia. My cell phone number is 201-519-0988. Shoot me a text or find me on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'll be anybody's friend on LinkedIn. And if you want to follow along with all of my travel adventures, my Instagram is Eileen, EILEEN _Ward, WARD.
All right. And how about you? How about you, Deb?
My email is djennings@telecorpinc.com. And the phone number there is 856-384-6000. So you can contact me either way.
All right, and people, I want you to check out past episodes of the Coop Tank. Go rate it, look at it, mark it. You liked it and all. Put some comments up. You can go follow the Coop Tank. Just search the Coop Tank on YouTube. Also, you can email me, thecooptank@yahoo.com, if you want to advertise on my show. People sit there, the people who are on my show are business leaders. The people who watch my show and listen on the podcast version are business leaders. So if you want to get your brand out there and get in with some people that you might not want to get a chance to meet, hit me up at thecooptank@yahoo.com. November 9th, it's a Thursday at Splits in Mount Laurel, in Laurel Lanes, and Maple Shade and Laurel Lanes. It's Cocktails with Cooper. Come on out. It's a free event. We usually get like 25, 35, 40 people, have a few drinks, do some networking. And also, I think it's either November 17th or 18th, whatever that Saturday is. I'll be doing stand-up comedy at Pizzeria Uno in Hamilton, New Jersey. So come check that out. So I want to thank Joe Ganjemi from SuiteRecording. Go check out their website, SuiteRecording.com. I'm Steve Cooper, and I will talk to you all next week. Have a great weekend.